So in a previous video, I talked about my top whiskies of 2020, and one of those whiskies was the Glencairn 10. But there's an interesting thing about this whiskey, and that's what's written down at the very bottom, which says Unchillfiltered. So what does that mean? Grab a dram, grab a seat, and let's Welcome to First Fill, I'm Phil, and I'm going to fill you in about whiskey. So you're probably wondering, where's Phil in the bush? Like, what's going on? Well, actually, I'm actually quite close to the beach. There's a beach just over here. There is sort of a bush behind me, a lot of native New Zealand plants and stuff. And that's the thing, I'm in New Zealand right now. It's summer, so you might see a little bit of sweat. It's pretty humid. I know a lot of you are in the Northern Hemisphere, so it'll be winter, but right here, right now, it's summer. So the first thing I want to talk about is water and cloudiness. And the thing about when you're making whiskey, when you're aging whiskey, it gets a lot of esters, gets a lot of proteins, barrel particles, and fatty acids. And all of these together, these compounds, when you add water, especially to a whiskey that's below 46%-ish, it's sort of debated between distilleries, but around that level, if you add water, if you add ice, if you cool the whiskey down, the whiskey will start going cloudy. And the worry for distilleries is that they think if consumers see the whiskey going cloudy, it will turn them off and then they won't be buying their whiskey. So chill filtering happens exactly how it sounds. They basically will chill the whiskey down to basically zero degrees Celsius and sometimes a bit lower. I'm not sure the exact degree, but it goes down below freezing. And what this causes the particles to do is clump together, which means when you pass the whiskey through a fine filter, it captures those compounds and takes them out of the whiskey. So the filters are made of a range of different materials, from paper to metal to even seashells. And how much sediment and how much of these compounds are actually removed from the whiskey depends on a few things. It depends on how fast the filtering process is done, how much pressure the filtering process is under, and also how many filters there actually are. So basically overall, a chill filtered whiskey bottled under 46% will look clear in the glass when you add ice, when you add water, but an unchill filtered whiskey bottled under that sort of 46% mark will go cloudy when you add water and ice. So why do distilleries do it? Why do they chill filter their whiskey? And it's mainly for aesthetic reasons. It's because their target audience, the mass audience, you know, they're worried that they all think that the whiskey's spoiled or gone off. You know, they're not targeting people like whiskey geeks like you and me. They're targeting people who don't really care what whiskey it is. They're at a bar, they're at a club, and they order a whiskey, and ice goes in it gets cooled down, and it goes cloudy. And they're worried that those consumers will then think it's spoiled, it's gone off, and they're not going to order that whiskey anymore. And therefore, that distillery will lose a lot of profit. But we whiskey geeks know that actually that cloudiness is not so bad. And some people even call that Scotch mist. So why do some distilleries choose then to unchill filter their whiskey? Well, the question they're sort of asking is, what are we sacrificing in terms of flavor, in terms of aroma, on the altar of consistency? You know, a lot of distilleries believe that by removing some of those esters, those fatty acids, and those proteins, that you're losing some of the flavor. You know, you're not losing everything, you're not taking everything out, but just a little bit. And they think that when you're removing some of those oils, that the whiskey will have a shorter finish. Or that when you're removing some of those fatty acids, that the whiskey will have a thinner feel. But you know, some of you might actually like the thinner feel whiskey. You might like the smoother whiskey. And that's fine, it's totally up to you. It's totally up to your palate. And that's what you gotta let be the master of all this, your palate. And the other thing as well is that they're not as concerned about the sort of people drinking unchill filtered whiskeys putting ice in it, or putting ginger ale, or putting Coke into that whiskey. And even if it does go cloudy, even if they do put those things in, a lot of these consumers think it's kind of a good thing that it goes cloudy. It's kind of mysterious. You know, they call it Scotch mist.
Scotch mist.
You know, like the Scotch and the mist, like the Loch Ness Monster and the... Yeah, that's why. It's actually really hot, like really hot. It's like 29 degrees. And I know some of you Australians, some of you, that's not even hot, 29. It's not hot. It's 40 right now where I am. Well, that's bad. I don't know if my ancestors or something were like Yetis or somewhere, I don't know, like Vikings from like northern Norway, because I don't know about heat. Not so sure about it. Maybe I should live somewhere with mountains. You know, I love a good mountain. I think I'm a winter person. What do you reckon? Are you a winter person or summer person? Let me know down in those comments. Look at that. Nice barrels. So it's a subtle phenomenon, but more and more distilleries are now choosing to put unchill-filtered on the label and not chill-filtering the whiskey. And a good example of this is the Glencairn. So right here on the front of the label, on the bottle, not just the box, it says unchill-filtered. And even on the back of the label, they talk about it specifically. This expression has been bottled at 46% volume to retain the whiskey's unique and natural characteristics and subtlety of taste. And by not chill filtering this whiskey, it ensures that the aromatic components in the whiskey are preserved to enhance presence and flavor. So they're boldly saying that by unchill filtering the whiskey, there's more presence and more flavor. And it's not just distilleries, it's actually the independent bottlings. Whiskies that target the kind of the savvy buyers, especially for independent bottlings, like the Old Particular. And they mention it on the label, and they also talk about it on the back as well. They say, we want you to experience these fine-aged whiskies exactly as the distiller intended. To us, this means not adding any colouring nor chill filtering our spirit, but instead leaving it well alone and allowing the natural present oils and enzymes in the whiskey to make their own special contribution to the nose, mouthfeel, palate, and finish. So there you go. Interesting. So very boldly stating that they think unchill filtered gives you a better palate, nose, and finish. And there's also, you know, a lot of other distilleries are now like proudly proclaiming it, like British in this article, British Guide to Chill-Filtration. They've got a whole article about why they do it and all that sort of thing. Or Aaron Whisky. Aaron won Whisky of the Year with Ralphie, and it's been very popular recently. It's sort of quite in at the moment, and they're doing heaps of cool things. And they say on their website, we never add caramel or strip out flavor using chill-filtration. We usually serve our whiskies at 46%, which means that it stands up well to dilution and adding a little splash of water. And then you get some whiskies like the Belvedere, which have chill-filtered expressions and unchill-filtered expressions, with the latter being the one that's mentioned on the label. Not too many chill-filtered whiskies who actually say that chill-filtered. But you know, just because it doesn't say unchill-filtered on the label also doesn't mean that it's not unchill-filtered. There are whiskies out there that choose to unchill-filter but not kind of proclaim it or talk about it as well. But all of this doesn't actually mean that chill-filtered whiskies are always worse. And the reason I've come up here, it's, you know, it's pretty hot. And as I said before, it's a good time for probably a chill-filtered whiskey, like the Monkey Shoulder. Great whiskey to have with ice. Definitely what I need today. Good reasonable price whiskey to have with ice, that one. Very smooth. If you don't want smoothness, I mean, this is the other end of the spectrum. The unchill-filtered Old Particular independent bottling. That's the one that I'll probably have tonight and really analyze this one on the nose. But not so much this one. This one's just like good drinking, big glass. Pretty good. So what's my preference then? Definitely when you chill filter whiskey, it does make it clearer. There's no argument there. And when you add caramel colouring, it also can make it look golden and nice and cool looking. But for me, my priority is not just how it looks, it's how it tastes and how it smells. And from what all these distilleries are saying, what a lot of people are saying, and from generally whiskies I've tried, Unchill filtered have kind of been the ones I've sort of leaned towards. And so when unchill filtered is on the body, it's kind of a signal. It's a signal to whiskey geeks like you and me, to say, look, we care about the flavor, the aromas, we're not going to take anything out. You're just having a raw, nice whiskey. But whether it actually makes a difference is still up for debate. You know, I think if I had 5 chill filtered whiskeys and 5 unchill filtered whiskeys, would I really be able to like pick them all out? I mean, I don't actually think I probably would, but you know, and you shouldn't always generalize like, oh, that's doesn't have unchill filtered on it, that should be a bad whiskey, because look, it's not always true. I'm having one right now, chill filtered, monkey shoulder, very, very tasty. But at the end of the day, as I said in the Whiskey Mistakes video, the best whiskey is the whiskey you like to drink. That's exactly what the Whiskey Tribe always talks about, so you know, just drink what you like. Let your palate, let your nose judge what you want best. And all of this is just a signal. At the end of the day, it's what's in the bottle, how it tastes, and how much you enjoy it. So above all, make sure you share, whether it's chill filtered or unchill filtered, and enjoy. Beauty.